except where them hands, where them holes, where them throws, you know what I'm saying?
On this video, I'm not quite sure what the title will ultimately be, but I'm pretty sure I will end up offending a few people, and it's really not my intention to, just because of who I will discuss for my jumping off points. Everybody's heard of McDojo life, right? There is one thing I will agree with McDojo life on. And I hesitate to agree with him on that because I think that by agreeing with him on that, I may be giving people permission to be disrespectful towards their martial arts instructors. Okay. Now, let me first say about what I disagree with McDojo Life on. I don't like his total approach to pressure points and a lot of the people that he criticizes in his pressure point things. He's always talking bad about pressure points and no touch and stuff like that. I mean, first of all, he actually came at me in one of his tweets. He put something up that I did and was critical of it. And, you know, I didn't really care because I got exposure that I wouldn't have gotten before. And I know and I believe in what I do. So at this point, if somebody's trying to tell me that pressure points don't work and no touch doesn't work, I say yes where I agree and no that I don't. I don't believe personally think you should be relying on no touch as a primary active form of self defense unless you can actually pull that off quick like you see in a Jedi movie. But knowing parts on the body that are weak in different ways to hit, rub, or touch them so that you don't have to just rely on your strength and understanding angle, direction, and anatomy, I think are very useful. As a matter of fact, in a what I would strictly call physical or external martial arts approach, in a Hapkido book that I'm still examining because it's a thick tome. It's got all the pressure point stuff in there that you would need and is exactly how far I would take students in pressure point stuff. I don't require students to learn no touch for a promotion all the way up to 10th degree in my system. I don't require that. Have I looked at that stuff? Yes, but I'm a nerd. I'm a martial arts nerd. I'm going to look at everything, but I'm not going to require that of other people. No, unless they want to do it. But I don't require that. And I've also never heard anybody say that you could just because you know no touch that you can beat up Mike Tyson. I've never heard anybody say that or imply that practices that stuff ever, ever. So now this is where I do agree with McDojo Life. I do think that there is a tendency for instructors, not for instructors, I'm sorry. I do think there's a tendency of people to give too much credence and faith and trust in instructors, not in the passing on of knowledge, but just as people in terms of if you're paying attention to the dynamic, man, you could get a student to do almost anything. I think that's just with any type of authority. If you as you become more and more familiar with the person, there's a lot of power that people just hand you. There's a lot of trust that people just hand you, and they shouldn't. And it's not necessarily the fault of the instructor. I think it's just if you're really doing a good job, they just tend to trust you more, and people just hand you information. Children just divulge information to their instructors that I just don't think that they should. And if they do that to me, I tell them not to do that. You know, some people really feel like they're bonding with you and they want to become like your friend. And, if you have nefarious purposes, I'm sure that a bad actor is going to abuse that. So it's like you really shouldn't trust your martial arts instructor any more than you would trust any other instructor of anything. You shouldn't. Now I have like I have an actual, in terms of like lifelong bonds with teachers, I have a couple of teachers that I met in high school that I've managed to keep in touch with somewhat, like through Facebook. That would be me, revering a sensei or bonding with a sensei. And with a couple of them, as adults, I've helped pitch business their way because, they were really good at that. Find them. Can you, there's one teacher in particular, I helped get in touch with someone who was doing some information on a documentary. And I still remember, like, man, yeah, she's up on that. And she helped with that documentary. That type of thing. You shouldn't trust a martial arts instructor any more than that. You shouldn't trust any coach or teacher any more than that. Now, why I say I hesitate to co sign with McDojo Life on that is because I think it would give the disrespectful people, I think these people are just disrespectful anyway, right? I think it will give them an excuse to just not listen to what the instructor says at all and think that because someone on the internet is telling them to have a critical mind, which they should, that means that you can just come in somebody's class and you can just do what you want to do. No, no. Just because you're questioning things and just because you draw limits doesn't mean as to steal a line from the preacher Creflo Dollar that this is Burger King and you can have it your way. Actually, he's not the only minister I've heard say that, but I think you get what I'm talking about. So just because you should be asking questions, you should be doing your own homework on this stuff, just like any other subject, any other subject of learning, any other body of knowledge. If there's a bare minimum for you to jump off at for any style and make your own thing, this is what I tell people. Get a black belt in something. Even when they said, well, with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, you can teach a purple belt. I said, well, if that to me is technically their black belts. So then if you want to like, I'm going to find my own BJJ thing, then you would get a purple belt in BJJ. But now they've made it so that you have to have black belts in that too. So just get a black belt in something, anything. I don't care what it is before you want to go off and say, hey, world, I've discovered this new thing. Because even if it is a total, shift in thinking, I got my parent and customer hat on now. When I was looking for lessons, and I knew there were people that didn't have black belts that knew as much as some of these other stuff, but when I'm paying money, I want you to have a black belt in something. And I didn't care what it was. You just had to have a black belt in something so that I knew that somebody else besides you said that you were okay to tell me something. So thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Please share with people like to talk about the martial arts and peace. And as always, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And remember, if you don't like what somebody does online, whatever, just don't watch it. I just don't watch stuff that if I totally disagree with it, I may not watch it, or I may watch it just to expand my mind. And, don't use that stuff as an excuse to be disrespectful. Peace.